Hello again. I am Lenwood Sloan, your time traveler and host for Cultural Connections. And I have the pleasure of being in the presence of the past with Miss Lydia Hamilton Smith. Welcome, Miss Smith.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me here.
It is great to see you. Now, you lived in Harrisburg 185 years ago in 1840 through 1844 in what is once was called our 8th Ward and now our Capitol South Lawn on the Irvis Building. How was your time in Harrisburg?
Well, though short, it was a time of learning for me. I came here with my husband, Jacob, and our 2 children. And that's really where I learned to set up house and learn about our neighbors and how helpful they were to us in our time of transition from Gettysburg. And worked very much with the churches here.
Now, ma'am, it is very interesting that you were here with your husband, Jacob, in 1840 and purchased a home during a time of what was called coverture. And coverture was a law that was passed that a woman owned nothing, not even the clothes on her back. All that came to her and through her belonged to her husband. So how did you co-sign the lease and become a woman owner of property at a time when women were not allowed?
Well, I said, it was a time of learning. Jacob was very hard time with holding work. I worked steadily, so the income was very important to us to have a steady income to pay these bills. So I think that was part of what helped us to have the home.
It's quite amazing for a woman of your time to be a co-owner and to find her name on a lease of any kind. And I congratulate you. Let's go backward to go forward about your time in Gettysburg, born in 1815, shortly after the War of 1812 and the entire kind of shift of our politics, and born an Afro-Gaelic woman in Gettysburg. Would you talk about your heritage and your origin story in Gettysburg?
Well, I always say that I was blessed, as I was born, as I say, on the sweetest day of the year, which was Valentine's Day, and born of Irish father and African mother. But I always say I had the best of both worlds. I learned of enslavement. I learned how to help people. My mother and I worked in a tavern. I helped to take care of the children of the tavern owners. And growing up, I got to see both sides of the world, if you will, what it was like to be free, and my heart ached for those who were enslaved. So it was I guess in my heart, to grow up and to be able to help those who were in need.
Indeed, ma'am. In that time that you and your husband and your 2 sons, William and Isaac, lived in Gettysburg, it was a great time of kidnapping of free people of color. Would you talk us through the challenge and the climate of Gettysburg in 1838 to 1840 with so many kidnappings of free people of color?
It was a frightening time, very frightening. There was a gentleman here by the name of McAllister who was well known for taking hold of those freedom seekers.
Man, we are sitting in a studio across the street from where Richard McAllister had his bounty office and had freelance bounty hunters entering your very neighborhood. Again, it was a time where the head count was more important than the crises of identity, very much like our time now with immigration.
Yes.
You, Kitty Palm and Mag Palm and so many people kidnapped out of Gettysburg. Why did you come to Harrisburg?
Well, I was hoping for a new start, a better life, if you will, with my husband, with my children. We brought my mother with me for a time to help watch the children while I worked. But again, it was a time of caution, working with the churches, keeping an eye open for those freedom seekers who would come through, because I had no problem helping. As my mother always said, always learn to reach back and help those who are less fortunate than yourself.
And you were well acquainted with the Underground Railroad by the time you came here. We know from several historic markers that the old 8th Ward where you lived was a safe house for the Underground Railroad.
Yes.
Would you talk about what Jacob did? Because he left us both the lineage as a barber and his time as a brass band leader in Harrisburg.
Yes, yes. He was a musician, very talented musician. Spent a great deal of time going from place to place, gathering gentlemen, and they had such a time. But he was also a very talented barber, which I should say our youngest son, Isaac, took hold of both of those professions as a musician and a barber.
Isaac was quite a banjo player,
Yeah.
and the records show that there wasn't a house party in central Pennsylvania that did not use either Jacob, the father, or Isaac, the son's brass bands.
Yes, yes.
We have the statue of Jacob T. Compton at our monument on the Irvis lawn, on the south lawn. And Compton and Jacob would have had their brass bands at the same time. I can imagine the concerts in Tanner's
Oh
Alley.
my, yes, yes.
Could you tell me, please, your time you moved on to Lancaster to become steward, a quartermaster, caretaker for Thaddeus Stevens? Talk about that time between 1844 and 1868.
Okay, yes. I left here approximately 1848. My cousin worked for the Congressman Stevens as a housekeeper. She was leaving and sent word to me, as she knew, sadly, my marriage was not doing well. So I needed work. So I took the position as the congressman's housekeeper. And I believe it's that he saw in me the desire to learn, so he was very adept at teaching me the ways of finance.
Now, ma'am, could I stop you for a moment?
Yes.
Because the word housekeeper has been diminished in my time to basically cleaning lady. Would you define what a housekeeper 1844 to 1868 did?
In my time, it was much more than just cleaning. I managed the household, basically. I did the cooking, the cleaning. I took care of the congressman because his health was not the best. Ensured that he did as he should do to continue his life. I hosted when he had many guests come in, as he did often. I cooked. I did catering. Did many, many things, not just cleaning, but managed the house and managed the other household staff.
And this is a very important time. It is a period where the congressman is the chief architect for the passage of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. And he is pressing America forward while his health is declining. Yes. I understand that you had to contract carriage and horses to help him get to Congress in Washington, from Lancaster to Washington. Would you speak about that?
Oh, yes, many times. As you said, his health was declining. He had a case with rheumatic fever, which took a great deal of toll on his health, which left him very weak in many cases. So I had to ensure that he made it from Lancaster to Washington, because he was very conscientious about making those speeches and those laws. They were very, very important to him.
So you established a carriage business, so and stewards to take him back and forth.
Oh, that was part of my job. It was part of my family, if you will, as I took care of his nephews as well. But it was to ensure his well-being and to ensure that those laws he wanted to pass, that he was so passionate about.
Now, ma'am, let's talk about this blended household that you manage with 4 sons, William and Isaac, your sons, and Thaddeus Jr. and
Allison, yes.
McAllison, Mr. Stevenson's nephews. 4 young men in 1850 with the world changing in front of them. 4 young men being drawn to the Civil War. I know you, both of you and Mr. Stevenson's heirs participated in the Civil War. Talk about your son Isaac in the Civil War.
Yes, Isaac joined the United States Colored Troops. He was with the 8th U.S. Colored Troops, which trained in Philadelphia at Camp William Penn. Mr. Stevens, both of his nephews joined, of course, the Union, young Thaddeus becoming a captain, and he actually actively recruited men for the United States Colored Troops. Allenson was a officer, but sadly he was killed during his time in the war. So we grieved him. Thaddeus made it through. And it was a because these were 4 very lively young men. And sometimes it was a difficult time. They had their schooling. Young Thaddeus actually went to Dartmouth, as his uncle did, and had some trouble there from time to time. Isaac, well, he was mostly within his music and his barbering. Sadly, I lost William at a young age.
Ma'am, you are well acquainted with grief.
Yes.
I understand. And we, in our time, are having quite a challenge with how to manage gun control. And you have a personal story about.
Yes. Sadly, William, my firstborn, had a flame, if you will, for a young lady, but she did not return that feeling. There was some discussion back and forth, and she decided she wanted to be with someone else. So in his anger, he was holding a pistol, and as his anger over her leaving him, he made a gesture, and sadly, the gun went off in his chest, in front of me, no less. He lingered for a day, and sadly, I lost him.
And forgive me for waiting your grief, but lingering is an experience in the last days of the Congressman Stevenson, as you took care of him. And they say you literally helped him hold his pen at times when he signed these important documents.
Yes. He was that weak, and as you know, or you may have heard, that they literally had to carry him onto the floor of Congress to discuss these acts and to help them get passed, and carry him back to his bed where he spent his last hours.
And you were there when he passed, ma'am?
Yes, I was. And young Thaddeus came from Lancaster. We were both with him toward the end. Oftentimes I asked him if there's anything I could do, and he just asked for some ice to wet his lips. And then he said, "There's nothing more you can do for me here."
We struggle with race and culture in every generation, in every century. There was a conflict about folks from Washington, D.C., who wanted to come and attend his funeral.
There was quite a bit. The fact that he had the U.S. colored troops attend him while he lay in state. Many came from Washington to Lancaster, but many felt that the folks of color should not be in attendance. But that was not his way. He was actually determined to be buried in a cemetery that allowed both black and white, because there were few that attended that. And as he stated, "As I live in life, so shall I at death," to be buried with anyone.
And he's buried in the Shriner Cemetery in Lancaster City,
Yes.
Which was, we were as segregated in death as we
Yes.
were in life at that time. Now, your gravestone lays in St. Mary's
Yes.
Cemetery, does it not, ma'am? Where
Yes,
they've
it does.
just recently restored that grave site, and those of us who are preservationists are trying to honor a spot on the planet. Which, while you travel through time when you're needed, we wanted to make a mark for you on this planet. Tell us why you're buried in a Catholic cemetery.
Well, I'm so honored to be there, and for the honor that they gave me by restoring that mark. I was a member of St. Mary's Catholic Church in Lancaster, raised a Catholic. As you can see, I was of Irish descent. My father was Catholic. I spent all my time at St. Mary's. The priest there spent a great deal of time at our home. We lived only a half a block from St. Mary's Church. So even as I left this world, my funeral was held in Washington, D.C. at St. Augustine's, a black Catholic church there, before being brought back here to be resting now at St. Mary's.
And ma'am, before you left this planet, you took on the legal system for the will that Mr. Stevens had left. And that was a noble fight for a woman of any color. But
Yes.
could you share with our audience your navigating and negotiating the legal system?
Well, yes. Well, Mr. Stevens left in his will that I should be given a choice of $500 a year for life, which was a tidy sum, or a lump sum of $5,000. I took the $5,000 and purchased his home as a place for me to come back. I left Thaddeus, young Thaddeus, here, but sadly he took to the drink, and oftentimes I was requested to come back to Lancaster to assist him in getting himself together to go back to work. I tried to sue the attorneys for that will for my time, the many times I had to come back and forth to Lancaster to assist young Thaddeus, because it was quite expensive to come back. I would take the train, spend several days here, and then go back to attend to my boarding house, which I ran in Washington, D.C. But they felt that I had enough.
Now, you had quite a number of properties. We understand that you had many properties in Lancaster, but also in Philadelphia.
I know I had a property on Middle Street in Gettysburg, 6 properties actually in Lancaster. I had the boarding house in Washington, D.C., and 1 property in Philadelphia. I also had some railroad stock, so I took the lessons well that I learned from Mr. Stevens on finance.
And you practice his benevolence and philanthropy in your own will.
Yes.
Would you talk about the many people who you left resources to continue your service leadership?
Yes, the many dear friends that I made while here. The Herb family, the family of the doctor who was very close to me. I had a very close circle of friends here in Lancaster. In my will, I left well over $25,000 between my properties and my liquid finances to that and to my half-sister in Maryland. I was very generous. Friends to the daughters of several of my friends who were very close to me and invited me often to their homes. Even when I left Lancaster to live in Washington, D.C., they invited me back often for events such as weddings or birthdays and things like that.
Ma'am, you've been very generous with your time. May I ask you two more questions?
Certainly.
The first is, you were there with the passage of the 15th Amendment. Our monument here in Harrisburg is an homage to the 15th and 19th Amendment. It would take 50 years between the two. How did you feel about an amendment that didn't include women and the right to vote?
Well, it was certainly hard-pressed to see that go through, but as you would say, you had to take it one step at a time to get the men involved, although I thought we were quite capable and quite intelligent enough to handle that. But if we could get the men along and have them to vote, they could, again, reach back and pull us into that event as well.
And my last question, ma'am, is why did you come back this time, and why do you keep coming back? And what have you discovered about our time that has changed, and what have you discovered that perhaps sadly has not?
No. Well, I keep coming back, especially to talk to the young ladies of today, to express to them that if I succeeded with all that I acquired in my lifetime, in the times of such turbulent times, that nothing should be able to stop them now from succeeding and building their own life and education and work. I see them still fighting now, and I'm glad to see that they've not stopped fighting. What I'm sad to see is it seems like things are going backwards a little bit in terms of relations between the cultures, between the races. And I'm hoping that we can reverse that once again, because I thought that we were building on that and moving forward on that. But I do see, like I said, the young ladies, which touches my heart to see that they are succeeding. I saw that we actually had a woman of color run for president.
Indeed.
Which I was so happy to see that, and actually had a man who made it as president.
So all the spirits and ancestors
Yes.
must be rejoicing.
Indeed.
Ma'am, we thank you for coming back whenever you like, whenever you can, and we appreciate you watching over us. You arrived on a Valentine's Day, but will you tell us what was the day you left?
Oddly enough, I left on Valentine's Day. So it was the sweetness in coming and the sweetness in going home.
So we will remember Miss Lydia Hamilton Smith every Valentine's Day, or every day that you cast a vote or don't, every day that you raise your voice to support a mother, a daughter, a grandmother, a loved one. You are doing it in the name of Miss Lydia Hamilton Smith. We are overjoyed to be in the presence of the past, and that takes us to the next time. We'll see you sometime in time and space. Thank you very much.